G'day there and welcome to the rewrap for Friday. All the best bits from the Mike Hosking Breakfast on News Talk ZB in a sillier package. I am Glenn ZB. And this morning, what is the plank of the week, or who is it? Find out shortly. The Delta plan was a bit late coming, apparently. Elective surgeries, very late coming. In fact, a lot of them still haven't happened, and who knows when they will. And we'll mark the week, because it's Friday, and that is what we do on Fridays. But before any of that, let's start the way that we often do these days, with slamming the government on their response to this whole situation.
Kudos to Murray Bolton and Russell Cootes this week for making their mark, their contribution to what I have no doubt is a growing resistance to the absurdity that is the running of this country, the danger and dishonesty of the government, and the realisation that the regime of fear and chaos has got to come to an end. Cootes, of course, is no different to the myriad of other people who have spoken out now for months on end. There's now an industry of op-ed pieces and Facebook blasts from well-known and not many making cogent, intelligent arguments as to the madness under which we continue to operate, or as the case may be, not operate, and in that is the Murray Bolton case. More on that shortly. But Cootes is rarely heard from, of course. He's an international citizen. He carries kudos and credibility. He's a businessman who deals with a world that is leaving us behind. He puts his voice to the chorus of people who are hamstrung, angry, confused, defeated, bust, bewildered at a regime whose sole argument, if not obsession, appears to keep hospital beds empty at all costs while refusing to bolster the number of hospital beds. But back to Bolton. If you missed it, he's a businessman too. He employs a lot of people. Needs to get to a board meeting in Boston. Zoom won't do it. He argues our interests will be disadvantaged if he isn't there in person. He, of course, is jabbed, and what separates him out is he's taking a private jet and wants to isolate at home because he can't get an MIQ spot. The judge, short of a fuller explanation, which is coming today, has ordered MB to look at the case again. Now, looking isn't solving, obviously, but for now it's a win. His lawyer, in one of the better lines of the week, says unless you're living down a rabbit hole in Wellington, you know that Auckland's economy is under significant stress. And that's the danger. We are being governed from the rabbit hole. I mean, the Prime Minister hasn't even set foot in Auckland for 3 months. Add to these examples Radius Care. God bless them for being human. People in aged care need family. To be prevented in your final years from being with your loved ones sums this government up. They're cold, they're heartless, they're uncaring, they're robotic. Even old Leo Malloy, opening his restaurant December 1 come what may. No idea how he's doing it, but good luck to him. It's a sign this is coming to an end. It's a sign the trust has been lost, the willpower's gone, the patience is up, and the frustration now heavily outweighs the logic. The government have blown it. They pushed too hard, too far, for too long. And combine it with a lack of common sense, of a plan of any real detail, of the endless announcements about announcements, and whatever good grace there was has been abused to the point of no return. You only ever govern with the goodwill of the people, and goodwill is in shorter supply than magnesium.
Yeah, I don't know. I still feel like in the ZB world, we're prone to living in that echo chamber where we all agree with each other that the government's doing a terrible job, and outside of that world there are other people who actually live in the world doing their thing and thinking that they're being protected from COVID, and that's, you know, just the price you pay. Anyway, not everybody sees it that way, of course.
Speaking of Ardern, she's up for an award. She's been up for an award this morning in Britain. Every week, Mike Graham on UK Talk Radio decides on a plank of the week, along with some guests. So Ardern's been nominated for vaccine mandates for some, but then not for others, for not having a plan and for scaring the country. That's what she was nominated for. She was also up against Paul Scholes for biting his daughter's toenail and sucking on her toe on a video, and against Insulate Britain for the disgraceful protests still ongoing. So who's the winner?
She just looked really creepy, psychopathic, and honestly, I'm scared for the people of New Zealand that she's
what's she
the Prime
next?
Minister.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. When this is over, she whimpers and crosses her fingers. What's she going to do next?
This is what these people want, right? They don't want there to be any more elections ever. Oh, we can't have any elections because of COVID. Of course not. So I'll just stay in charge, shall I? That's what they like, I think. I agree. I think Jacinda Ardern wins it. Art Institute of Chicago third, Paul Scholes second. So, well done, Jacinda. Don't talk to your neighbours. Jacinda Ardern wins Plank of the Week.
Plank of the Week out of the UK this morning.
Yeah, I mean, that guy who hosts that show, he's the guy we played on the Mike Hosking Breakfast a little bit earlier in the week, interviewing a bloke from Insulate Britain, the protest movement. And he told that guy that you could grow concrete. So I don't know that I'm overly fussed about what he thinks about what's going on here in New Zealand. Anyway. I mean, I'm not saying that he's wrong, especially given this information that's just come out.
Information through the Official Information Act health briefings show the government only began planning for Delta late July, just weeks before it all arrived here in August. A single bullet point, late July health report, first sign the government was preparing for Delta. Reference appears in an excerpt from a weekly report provided to Hipkins, July 22. 2 weeks later, officials provided more details. August 6, quote unquote, in order to maintain elimination, our response will need to be faster, possibly last longer, employ more stringent public health measures than may have been previously used, and possibly use these more widely, including the use of alert level 4 restrictions if necessary. The very next day, a traveller from New South Wales arrives at the Crown Plaza, the MIQ, within days the virus is in the community. That day, August 17, was also the day a report the government-wide readiness for Delta was due to be submitted to the Chief Executive of Government Departments. The bulk of the Delta Preparedness Work Programme wasn't scheduled to be completed until the end of August. Larger pieces of work were still slated to be done well into mid-September. They were still shuffling papers when it had already arrived.
Yeah, this is certainly the thing I find most frustrating is how long it takes for stuff to happen. Just have an idea, act on the idea, especially if it's an idea that, they've had somewhere else and it seems to be working. Let's do that. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel, especially out of bits of paper and red tape. That's very frustrating. We talked to Michael Wood today about light rail in Auckland. Yes, they're still trying to make that happen. And it may as well be the monorail episode of The Simpsons. I've got a bridge to sell you too, Michael Wood. They spend so much money just deciding whether or not they're going to do things. Just do the things.
Yeah, here's a number. 3,000 Aucklanders missed their elective surgery, and this was, and here's the key to this was just in the 6-week level 4 lockdown period. Forget your weeks 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, God knows how long it goes on for. Just in the opening 6 weeks of level 4, 3,000 people in Auckland alone, elective surgery gone. That's the cold, hard health cost of what we're going through at the moment.
Yeah, something's got to change urgently there. That's for damn sure. We've got premature babies being born, being air ambulanced down to Hamilton because the Auckland NICU unit, is COVID restricted. Stuff like this is happening. And, it doesn't all get reported because there's just so much stuff like this happening. Oh my God, let's mark the week. Let's try and lighten things up. Can we please?
Time now to mark the week. Little piece of news and current events that's more popular than Elon Musk on an earnings call. Russell Coutts 8 spoke for many with his blast on how mad and ugly this country's become and how we have watched our freedoms be snatched from us. Murray Bolton 7. It's not over, but it's a good start when you're suing your own government and winning. Something isn't right. Simon Mutter 7. As he closed the doors to one of his investments, he spoke for many as well. People can write cheques for red ink if they know when the damage is ending. No one knows when the damage is ending, and that is the damage this government is inflicting on the country. Flying to Christchurch too? I mean, why is everyone angry that there wasn't a mandate to fly? What were you expecting, a plan? Organisation? Why would you be expecting that? Schools 3. What a cluster. Maybe November 15, maybe not. It's complicated, is it? You get the sense everything's complicated when delivery isn't your strong point. Courtney Duncan 8. A brilliant young talent with years of success ahead of her. A highlight of the week for me. Farmers 9. Speaking of highlights, KPMG report had them top of the pile globally on climate. Farmers 9. Fonterra is writing record cheques for milk. 13 billion they're worth from dairy alone this season. Thank God for the farmer. Three Waters 1. State theft. And theft by dishonesty. It's voluntary. Oh, whoops, no it's not. They lied. They're changing the law and they're taking the infrastructure anyway. They're liars. The PM 1.
Of course I understand the impact of a lockdown.
Hasn't been to Auckland for months but can go to Europe. And made it worse by pretending she doesn't need to be in Auckland to understand the pain. It redefines the term delusional. Australia 8.
G'day, Mark. Good on you.
Out vaccinating us. International travel's on from Monday. MIQ's gone. Home ISO's gone. Rapid testing kits are in supermarkets. How is it they can be so much better than us? It's called leadership. COP26 3. A week of reports telling us how useless we are at emissions, how we keep making promises we can't keep, and we think that COP26 is going to be different to COPs 1 through 25. Barry Soper, Seba.
Let me finish. You possibly know what the people of Auckland are feeling at the moment if you haven't been here.
Gina? For flying the flag for asking tough questions of leaders and not backing down. A tough question from the galleries as rare as a Dern sighting in Auckland these days. And that's the week. Copies on the website, and be rest assured no magnesium was used in the production of this product.
I think that was the big takeaway from the week, wasn't it? That our cars are all made out of magnesium. Don't know how to feel about that. The only thing I can really remember about magnesium is I remember burning it up in science at school. And it burned very brightly and very hot. The next time I consider driving my car through an open fire, I probably will decide against it. I see the head of VW in Europe has said that the worst of the chip shortage is behind them now. So that's good at least. Now they just need to find some more magnesium to actually make the actual cars. I'm Glenn ZB. That was the rewrap. I don't know. What is it made out of? What is this thing made out of? I'll get back to you on that. We'll have come up with a list of ingredients and nutritional values for you on Monday. See you then.
Thought-provoking, opinionated, enlightening. The Leighton Smith Podcast.
For 28 years, he was an analyst for the CIA, specializing in foreign news media. He left in 2010, just before the world changed. His book, The Revolt of the Public and the Crisis of Authority, was published in 2014. Martin Gurri is not to be missed in 135.
Subscribe now on iHeartRadio and get the latest episode now. The Leighton Smith Podcast, powered by News Talk ZB. The voices of New Zealand cricket are back. Brian Waddle, Jeremy Coney on the front foot.
This week on the front foot, 2 wins from 3. The Black Caps' pathway to a World T20 semi-final is plotted. Our view on who the selectors should include in the test squad for India. Canterbury's return to the top of the Plunket Shield reviewed. And what impact will 2 extra teams in the IPL have on cricket internationally?
Download the latest podcast now on iHeartRadio, powered by News Talk ZB.